Good morning, my dear students, and welcome to our physical education class for grade 11. So, we are now in quarter 3, module 2. Our topic is about the fitness enhancement through physical activities. So, we are now in the lesson 2, the principles of training and barriers to physical activity. So, at the end of the lesson, you should be able to first identify the principles of training and barriers to physical activities. And number two, write an essay about how to enhance my fitness during pandemic. So please don't forget to have your learning activities with you. Answer your learning activity sheets after our lesson. So let us start with the definition and descriptions of principles of training. So the principle of training should be thought of as the golden rules of making fitness training work for the individual participant. So following these golden rules will help to guarantee success and will carry athletes toward their training and performance goals. All training is aimed at creating long-term physical changes in the body system. So these changes are referred to as adaptations. So we have here first definition, the specificity. So training must be relevant to the individual and their sport. So this can be achieved by tailoring training specifically for the sport or even the position that the individual plays. The muscle groups that they use most of the dominant energy system of the athlete. So we have here the progressive overload. Training frequency, intensity, time, or type must be increased over the training period to ensure that the body is pushed beyond its normal rhythm. So that is the progressive overload. And then we have the FITT or the fit. So meaning is frequency. The first F is frequency, then the next I is intensity, the first T is time, and the second T is type. So for FITT, the meaning is frequency, intensity, and time and type. So what is frequency? Frequency is increased by training a greater number of times each week. And the intensity is increased by lifting a greater resistance, such as with weight training or by training at a higher percentage of maximum heart rate. So this can be done either as continuous or interval training. So that is for the intensity. The time so can be manipulated by training for longer, so reducing recovery times or by completing a greater number of sets or repetitions, also known as reps. And the type of training is manipulated by offering a variety of training types and experiences to the athlete by combining training methods. Next, we have the individual needs. So, all athletes are different. Training must be related to the athlete's age and gender, injury status, and fitness level. So, any training that fails to be relevant to the individual will fail to motivate the athlete and will prove to be unsuccessful in the long run. So, the training depends on the individual needs. So, rest and recovery. Physical adaptations occur during the recovery and non active period of the training cycle. So, therefore, athletes and trainers must achieve the right amount of rest between sessions, good sleep patterns, and the right nutrition, including the use of protein to help repair the damage caused by intense training. So, rest and recovery is also important for the athletes or the trainers. So the athletes and the trainers must achieve the right amount of rest. So between sessions. So you should also have a good sleep patterns and right nutrition, including the use of protein. Next definition is we have the reversibility. Systems reverse or they adapt if training stops or is significantly reduced or injury prevents training from taking place. So it is essential to avoid breaks in training and to maintain the motivation of the athlete. So overtraining. For the overtraining, if an athlete does not have sufficient rest periods, then they are at risk of overtraining. This is when the body does not have time to adapt to the training, and as a result, the fitness of the athlete declines, and they are more at risk of becoming ill or injured. Now let's proceed to the barriers to physical activity. So, what are the barriers to physical activity? So, many technological advances and conveniences that have made our lives easier and less active. So, many personal variables, including physiological, behavioral, and psychological factors that may affect our plans to become more physically active. So, understanding common barriers to physical activity and creating strategies to overcome them may help make physical activity part of daily life. So, people experience a variety of personal and environmental barriers to engaging in regular physical activity. So, we have here some personal barriers. With technological advances and conveniences, people lives have in many ways become increasingly easier, so as well as less active. So in addition, people have many personal reasons or explanations for being inactive. So the most common reasons adults do not adopt more physically active lifestyle are cited as: number one, we have the insufficient time to exercise. So kulang yung oras natin para mag-exercise. Then inconvenience of exercise, lack of self-motivation. So non-enjoyment of exercise. So boredom with exercise, lack of confidence in their ability to be physically active. So low self-efficacy. Fear of being injured or having been injured recently. Lack of self-management skills, such as the ability to set personal goals and monitor. So progress or reward progress towards such goals. So lack of encouragement or support or companionship from family and friends. Non-availability of parks, sidewalks, bicycle trails, or safe and pleasant walking. Paths close to home or the workplace. Paths close to home or the workplace. So the top three barriers to engaging in physical activity across the adult lifespan are: so we have time, energy, and motivation. So those are the three top barriers in engaging physical activities. Now let's proceed to the environmental barriers. The environment in which we live has a great influence in our level of physical activity. So many factors in our environment affect us. Obvious factors include the accessibility of walking paths, cycling trails, and recreation facilities. So especially this time that we are having the pandemic, so we have a limited time to go out and have the exercise. So most of the time we spend at home and doing our modules. Factors such as traffic, availability of public transportation, crime, and pollution may also have an effect. So other environmental factors include our social environment, such as support from family and friends and community spirits. So it is very important to have the support from our family and friends, and also from the communities. It is possible to make changes in our environment through campaigns to support active transportation, legislation for safer communities, and the creation of new recreation facilities. Before you answer your learning activity sheets, let's have first the definition and example of the components of fitness. So we have here the health related components, the definition, and the example. So for number one, we have here the body composition. The definition: the relative percentage of muscle, fat, bone, and other tissues that comprise the body. So a fit person has a relatively low but not too low percentage of body fat or body fatness. Example is the gymnast has a lean body composition to allow them to propel themselves through the air when performing on the asymmetrical bars. That is for the body composition. Cardiovascular fitness, the ability of the heart, blood vessels, blood, and respiratory systems to supply fuel and oxygen to the muscles and the ability of the muscles to utilize fuel to allow sustained exercise. A fit person can persist in physical activity for relatively long periods without undue stress. Example, we have competing a half marathon with consistent split times across all parts of the run. Next is flexibility, the range of motion available in a joint. It is affected by muscle length, joint structure, and other factors. A fit person can move the body joints through a full range of motion in work and in play. Example, a gymnast training to increase hip mobility to improve the quality of their split leap on the beam. Muscular endurance, the ability of the muscles to repeatedly exert themselves. A fit person can repeat movements for a long period without undue fatigue. An example, a rower repeatedly pulling their oar against the water to propel the boat towards the line. Next is strength, the ability of the muscles to exert an external force or to lift a heavy weight. A fit person can do work or play that involves exerting force, such as lifting or controlling one's own body weight. Example, pushing with all one's force in a rugby scrum against the resistance of the opposition pack. So, those are the health related components, the definition, and some examples. Now, let's proceed to your learning activity sheet. So, what are you going to do? The direction is you're going to give at least five examples of physical activity that are usually you do or that you usually do. Identify what type of health related fitness component it belongs. So write your answer in the table given below. So you can use an extra sheet of paper or you can answer directly on your learning activity sheets. So we have here an example of activities like running. The health related fitness component is the cardiovascular fitness. And then we have here another question. Number one, what is the role of physical activity in your life? So you are going to give your answer based on your based on what you have learned for today. So what do you think is the role of physical activity in your life? Number two, do you think that being physically fit and healthy is important? Why or why not? Number three question is, I have learned that health related fitness exercises have, okay, you have to continue this statement. I have learned that health related fitness exercises have. So that's all for today, and thank you so much for tuning in to 103.9 Radyo Tangyoyob. I hope you have learned something for today. Thank you very much, grade 11 students, and have a good day. Goodbye.